Good morning and welcome, friends, on this beautiful Sunday morning as we celebrate the Epiphany of Christ. It is a joy to gather together virtually this morning. Our bulletin may be found at rioterracechurch.org/live, and we thank you for joining us this morning. A few announcements for our week. The first is that we celebrate with our church office administrator, Connie Head, who retired as of December 31st, 2020. She's looking forward to exploring some new cooking options as well as getting to know her new grandchild. So Connie is no longer in our office, but if you have any administrator concerns, Brian Peacock, our board chair, is subbing for our future administrator at this time. So you can contact the pastor, me, or Brian, or our financial secretary, Marion, through the church office. On Tuesday, a funeral service, a celebration of life, will be held for Sarah Major-Smith. That's Tuesday at 2 p.m. Sarah is the daughter of Vismi Major, one of our beloved members here at Rio. Sarah died last week, and it was unexpected and sudden, and that funeral will be held on Tuesday at 2. A streaming link will be sent out to the whole congregation if you would like to join in that celebration of life. We now gather for our call to worship. Again, you can follow along at rioterracechurch.org/live or using the words that appear here on the screen. We gather wondering, where will we find the babe born in Bethlehem?
We will find the babe in the laughter of children, in the wisdom of grandparents.
We gather asking, where will we find the child of Christmas?
We will find the child where the needy are gifted with hope, where the oppressed are set free.
We gather wanting to know, where will we find the Christ?
We will find our hope where fear is overwhelmed by grace, where hatred is overcome by love, where people are graced by joy.
And we sing the hymn, Arise, Your Light is Come.
Arise, your light is come, the Spirit's call obey. Show forth the glory of your God, which shines on you today. Arise, your light is come, framed by the present dawn. Proclaim our captives liberty, good tidings to the poor. Arise, your light is come, all you in sorrow mourn. Bind up the broken-hearted ones, and comfort those who mourn. Arise, your light is come, the mountains burst in song. Rise up like eagles on the wing, God's power make us strong.
Good morning, Anastasia. How are you this morning?
Good.
I just wanted to say that lots of people wrote to compliment your singing of Morning Star. You did a wonderful job on Christmas Eve. I can't believe it's been that long since we've been here in the church together, since Christmas Eve. Did you have a good Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah? What were some of your favorite things that happened?
We had a lot of presents.
A lot of presents, yeah? That's always a fun thing.
We didn't even fit all of them in our tree.
They didn't even fit all under the tree. That's a cool problem to have, right? Yeah, I bet you're filled with lots of thanks and gratitude. Well, actually, we're talking today about the three wise men. You know the story of the three wise men, and what kind of gifts did they bring to baby Jesus?
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, yes. Those were kind of spiritual gifts that they gave to Jesus. They're gifts that you would give to like a king or someone that's really important and special. Of course, we know today all of us are important and special, but those are spiritual kinds of gifts. What do you think is different from a spiritual kind of gift compared to like maybe a toy or something? Does the question make sense? What does it mean to be spiritual? I guess we'll ask that question first.
Well, I don't know what spiritual even means.
Well, that's a fair point. Being spiritual is when we seek to be connecting with God, when we seek to feel God's presence and to love our neighbors. That's kind of what being spiritual means.
Okay.
And so what would a gift look like that would help us to love God more or love our neighbors more?
To be happy and thankful and say thank you for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are wonderful gifts. To be happy. Oh, so both, yeah. So when someone gives us a gift, we're happy and we say thank you. That's definitely something we can do. But also happiness and thanks, those are like spiritual gifts. Those are like things that we can do in our heart that we can also share with other people. Does that make sense? When we're full of gratitude and thanks, when we're full of happiness, other people become full of happiness and thanks, right? Mm-hmm. Has that been your experience? Like when you have a friend who's feeling sad, if you share happiness, does that help cheer them up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a present or something.
Well, definitely, yeah, absolutely. We can give a present, but we can also share our happiness with them too.
Yeah.
And I bet the thing that, when we think about Christmas, I know that you're thinking a lot about the gifts and the presents, but I bet the most special part about all those gifts were that they came from people who loved you, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what makes them special.
And the most important thing is that Christmas is Jesus' birthday.
That's right. It was Jesus' birthday, yes. And that's why, the kings are bringing the gifts, and that's why we give gifts to each other to remember Jesus' birthday. Well, I think a really important gift that we can give to each other is, this is what we say, it's called faith, hope, and love. What does faith mean? It's like our faith is how we see the world. Our faith is how we understand God. Our faith, it's like a thing that's inside of us that we can, it helps us to be open-minded and loving people, I think, is what our faith is. But I'm sure you know what hope is. What's hope?
Hope is like you're hoping for something to happen.
Yeah, when you're hoping for something, you're longing for something. Hope is believing that good things are always possible, right? Mm-hmm. And love, I know that you know what love is. That's
loving people.
Yes, absolutely. It's all of the good feelings that we have to each other. So faith, hope, and love are gifts that we can give to each other. When we think about the wise men, we think about how we can share that hope and love with each other. Does that make sense? This was a long and weird children's chat, but thank you for going along with me for this. That was like a gift to me, your patience this morning. Let's have a prayer. Dear God, thank you for the gifts you give to us each day. Help us to share gifts of faith, hope, and love with everyone we meet. Amen. Thank you.
Good morning. This is a poem called The Neighbor, translated by Albert Ernest Fleming, a rather heavy poem. Strange violin, why do you follow me? In how many foreign cities did you speak of your lonely nights and those of mine? Are you being played by hundreds or by one? Do in all great cities men exist who, tormented and in deep despair, would have sought the river but for you? And why does your playing always reach me? Why is it that I am always neighbor to those lost ones who are forced to sing and to say, life is infinitely heavier than the heaviness of all things?
Good morning. Today's scripture is from Isaiah 60, 1-6. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples. But the Lord will arise upon you, and his glory will appear over you. Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and look around. They all gather together. They come to you. Your sons shall come from far away, and your daughters shall be carried on their nurses' arms. Then you shall see and be radiant. Your heart shall thrill and rejoice. Because the abundance of the sea shall be brought to you, the wealth of the nations shall come to you. A multitude of camels shall cover you, the young camels of Midian and Ephah. All those from Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and frankincense, and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord. And from Matthew 2, verses 1-12, in the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who was born King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all of Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it had been written by the prophet. And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road.
We sing now the hymn, We Three Kings. Wow, Adeline, that was the perfect tempo for that hymn. Thank you. Wow. Usually I feel like I'm trudging through the sand myself, and that one, I like it. We are singing, perhaps at home by now you've taken down all of your Christmas decorations, and we still have ours up here at Rio. We're celebrating the Epiphany today, and traditionally this is the 13th day of Christmas, the day after the 12th day of Christmas. Of course, that's January 5th, but we're observing it today. And so as we move into this season of Epiphany, of course, our decorations are going to be changing. We're going to focus on light, and so we'll take down the tree. But we have our new Christ candle here that will lead us through this year, and we're at that wonderful transition point. The Sunday in which we observe the Epiphany of Christ is often a strange one. It's usually 2 or so Sundays after Christmas Eve. And while Epiphany, which is, again, January 5th, by the time we get around to observing the Epiphany, many of us are Christmased out and making plans for the rest of winter. I've heard 3 different friends this week who are already putting in spring seed orders from various places, so I think that's an optimistic thing to do. So by the time we tell the story of Epiphany, that is, the story of the wise men traveling to meet the child Jesus, bringing with them gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh, it feels tired and like we should move on. We've spent the last 2 months thinking about the holly and the jolly, the tinsel, the trees. Surely it's time again to meet the grown-up Jesus, the one who wanders around in an exotic, warm climate that we can imagine in our own minds. I think that's probably where a lot of us are wishing we might be, in the desert of Israel right now. This year, the story of the Epiphany stood out to me in a more unusual way. The story of the Epiphany, the wise men meeting Jesus, functions in an interesting way in the Gospels. Truly, it's not really a pivotal part of Jesus' storyline, at least as far as the Gospels would be concerned. And yet we remember it each year. It's one of those stories that we do tell each year, no matter which Gospel we're focusing on. In a literary sense, the story of the Epiphany, the wise men visiting with Jesus, it's not part of the rising action. It's not the climax of the story. In some ways, it functions as a bit of an exposition, but more importantly, as foreshadowing, as part of the larger plot of Matthew's gospel. It sounds like the whole of the gospel is almost contained within this one story. The main characters of this passage are Herod, Jesus, the wise men, and Mary and Joseph. Herod, the ruler of the region in which Jesus and his family resided, was an anxious narcissist who feared for power. Herod was so anxious and insecure that when he had heard from these traveling sages that a baby was born who would become king of the Jews, he ordered a widespread infanticide, echoing the story of Pharaoh, the Egyptians, and how Moses came to be found in a basket floating in the river. Herod committed unspeakable evil. It's so unspeakable that even though it's part of our lectionary, we rarely deal with that story. All because of his corruption, his narcissism, his vanity. It tells the story that this unspeakable evil tells the story of how corrupt power seeks to preserve itself regardless of the cost. So, the wise men visit Jesus, bringing him gifts that foreshadow the passion narrative of Palm Sunday through Easter. They depart, and Joseph hears in a dream that Jesus is under threat. So the family flees, ironically, to Egypt until it is safe to return. The corrupt power of Herod made the Holy Family into refugees. Jesus was rejected by his own king, his own people, and those that brought him gifts were traveling sages from faraway places. In our ministry together, I always try to echo the message of Jesus. That is, the whole of the Bible, the teaching of the law and the prophets, Jesus said, is summed up like this: love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. I think that's the part we often struggle with. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor. That's why we gather in churches. Truth be told, we can pray and develop a relationship with the divine, the eternal, quite well on our own terms and in our own solitude. But loving your neighbor, that requires you to know your neighbor. And it requires that we be influenced by and in relationship with our neighbors. And if COVID has taught us just one thing, it's about the importance of being in relationship with our neighbors. We miss physical connection. The root of anxiety is the unknown. In many ways, anxiety is born in isolation. Corruption happens when our perspective becomes so narrow that we can think only of ourselves, when anxiety overwhelms our empathy. As we become isolated, as we turn inward, as we avoid spending time with our neighbors, that breeds anxiety, which leads to corruption. This past week, I was reminded about the importance of cultivating a spiritual life, and I was taught by the strangest of things. Many of you may know that I'm an American, and the values of the U.S. that continue to resonate with me, that have shaped me, are the importance of cultural diversity, living in peace with each other, and a shared hard work ethic. Of course, these things are also present in Canada, but I was shaped by these values in the United States. I'm going to date myself here, and it's probably going to go in the opposite direction of where you might be thinking. My first real political memory was around the election of Bill Clinton and the development of truly cynical partisanship that began to characterize American politics by the mid-90s. This cynicism and partisanship has continued to grow exponentially, and we find ourselves in the present moment. I don't even think I need to mention what's going on, and we know exactly what I'm talking about. I watched in confusion and sadness, and with a complete lack of surprise, when the U.S. Capitol was occupied this week. And then I spent several days ruminating on it. As I thought about King Herod, with his anxiety, narcissism, and egomania, I began to draw parallels to the present day. And then I thought about the Capitol, and my mind jumped to the Passion narrative, that story between Palm Sunday and Easter. So many people expressed horror and outrage about the occupation of the U.S. Capitol. And as I heard them speak, it occurred to me that Americans treat the U.S. Capitol like people treated the temple in Jesus' day. Our gospel narrative gives us conflicting accounts of the temple. On the one hand, it was a deeply spiritual place, considered to be the place where a personified God interacted with mortals, and the central place of Jewish gathering. Each person who was oriented towards the temple needed to make an annual trip to the temple in Jesus' day. That would be a great distance, depending on where in Israel you're coming from, probably walking by foot. On the other hand, as Jesus reminded us, the temple was corrupt beyond repair. It was the gathering place of power, of cynical leadership, and it was used to exploit the poor and marginalized so that people of status could maintain and grow their own status. This was the great sin of Good Friday, that we, the people, would exchange human life to preserve our sense of order, of our personal power and privilege. Dehumanization. In many ways, the Capitol represents this same parallel to me. It is supposed to stand for good order, liberty, and justice, the things that at least I was taught in elementary school. Instead, its halls are used to lob cynicism, and its offices are used to consolidate power for personal entitlement. The American people are divided because their institutions have divided them up like pawns, and use them in much the same ways that Herod and his cousin, the other Herod, who was present for the crucifixion, treated Jesus and the people of Israel some 2,000 years ago. I apologize that I'm speaking so much about the nature of a different country. It feels just so close to home at the same time, and it's a thing that happens here. We divide and create us and them, and that division festers. Instead, we as Christians, as spiritual people, as followers of Jesus, the message of the Epiphany is that we are to bring gifts and share them, that we might gather around the light together. That's literally what Epiphany means. Epi, around, phanos, the light, around the light, around. The gifts we bring today are faith, hope, and love. These are what God has endowed us with to lead us through our life and living together. Faith, hope, and love cannot lead to division. It's impossible. Faith, hope, and love bring us together. The great joke about neighboring is that tall fences make great neighbors. But it's our job to love our neighbor, not ignore them. We are not a people who build tall fences. We are not a people who draw lines in the sand. There is no more room for us and them. There is only us. This is a radical message for our work today. We will love our neighbors for who they are as they are. We all have the capacity and impetus to grow, because we can all grow together. And when anxiety, narcissism, cynicism dominates the day, it will be our faith, hope, and love that shine a light right through. Over the course of this coming season of Epiphany, we will explore the nature of our relationships in community, in neighborhoods. In this time known for its remarkable social isolation, we will be a people who will find creative ways to share our gifts of faith, hope, and love. Amen. I invite you now to sing, "I Am the Light of the World." Adeline will now offer us a musical interlude as we transition into the more interactive portion of our service. If you would like to maintain some anonymity or depart at this time, we completely understand. There is no pressure. Otherwise, after this interlude, we'll move into the sharing of blessings, concerns, our prayers of the people, and engage in some dialogue.